The bye week, it's over. It's game day, baby. The Texans hosting the Dolphins. The final four games of the 2024 regular season on the horizon. A chance to clinch the AFC South today. They get a little help from the Denver Broncos and take care of their business. The Texans are playoff bound by the end of the day. How do they get it done today? How do they beat the Miami Dolphins? How do the Dolphins pull up the upset, and who ultimately is going to win? I'll tell you, powered by my friends at BetUS. YouTube 150 is the code when you get signed up. So how do the Texans do this? Let's start over on the defensive side of the football. They have got to be able to tackle really well. The Dolphins are going to find space in this Texans team. And when you think about some of the performances where the defense looked a little shaky, it's because their tackling wasn't consistent. The Tennessee Titans game, the second half of the Detroit Lions game. If they are not tackling well, the Dolphins will get the rushing attack going. The Dolphins will get the ball out into space. The Dolphins will hit explosive plays off of missed tackles. The Texans have to tackle well. They have so much speed on the Miami Dolphins offense between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane. They've got so much speed. If you're not tackling well, you are going to lose this game if you are the Houston Texans. On top of that, they have got to make Tua at least take an extra beat, an extra moment, an extra second to figure out where he's going with the football. The Dolphins love to get the ball out of Tua's hands. If they've got a guy that can't take a whole bunch of hits, okay, because of his injury history, they need to get the ball out of his hands. Well, the coverage has to be sticky. The coverage has to be excellent. Don't let the Dolphins get into those spaces so that Tua can make a quick decision. Go out there, cover really well, give those pass rushers for the Houston Texans, who are going to take on two tackles that aren't nearly as good as some of the other tackles that they faced this year. Give them an extra second to get to Tua, affect the passes, and maybe you can find your way into an interception, a sack, putting the Dolphins behind the chains and making it more difficult for them to succeed on some of those quick passes. Because when you have a quick pass, you don't have the time to get deeper into the defense. If you're a receiver, you got to get in there and make things happen after you get the ball, not before you get the ball. Well, third and longs, if you can only get 7 yards, that's not going to be good enough if you've got them in, say, 3rd and 12 because you were able to get a sack on 1st or 2nd down. The Dolphins' rushing attack is not great. Don't let that get going if you're the Texans' defense as well. But those first two, tackle well and just make Tua think an extra second every now and then. The Texans' defense should be taking care of their business. Offensively, Aaron Rodgers just turned back the clock against this team for over 300 passing yards. Now, he's got two really excellent wide receivers in Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. The Texans right now only have one excellent wide receiver in Nico Collins, but they've got to get someone else involved in the passing game. Joe Mixon out of the backfield, the tight ends, who had a fantastic game against Jacksonville, with Dalton Schultz having his biggest game of the season to this point, or just simply Tank Dell at the wide receiver spot. But somebody besides Nico Collins has got to step up in the passing game. Give C.J. Stroud the opportunity to find some open guys and make some big plays against the Dolphins defense that should give him the opportunity. They've also got to protect C.J. Stroud really well. They're changing the offensive line. It was their best offensive line performance of the season against Jacksonville. That's not the offensive line they're going to have against the Dolphins because of Juice Scruggs' injury. So they've got to protect C.J. Stroud well. Remember, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, Zach Sealer, is the defensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins. He had a big game against the Jets. If he has another big game, well, that's not going to be good for the Houston Texans in this matchup. In this matchup, man, I like points. I like scoring in this one. Maybe close to the over-under of 46.5. The prop builder is fantastic over at BetUS. Use that code YouTube150. Get a 150% bonus up to $2,000 when you make your first deposit after using the code YouTube150. I like Nico Collins to get in the end zone. He does really well at home. The Cheetah got going as well last week. So the two top receivers for these teams getting into the end zone, either a rushing or receiving touchdown, receiving more likely, but Tyreek Hill, you never know how they get the ball in his hands. I love that. as a little just touchdown parlay here. How about a 50 spot to go over to? Oh, we got a little max wager thing here. Okay. 1176. Well, how about just $10 then? $10, 52.50. You got yourself a nice little fun touchdown parlay here on BetUS. Use that code YouTube150, get you 150% bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. So that's how easy it is to make your wager over there on BetUS. Use that prop builder. So many fun things on the prop builder. I love putting that together in the prop builder. How do the Dolphins get this done? Well, the Dolphins get this done by being explosive. The Texans have had some issues with explosive plays. They could win on first and second down and let the other team do great on third down, and that can be an issue for the Texans from time to time. They allowed a tight end who hasn't had a big game to go rumbling 80 yards for a score when the Titans were in town. And the Dolphins have far more weapons than the Tennessee Titans. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, Jonnu Smith is having a big season. They need explosive plays from Miami because the rushing attack can't really keep them alive in games and puts them behind the chains a little bit from here and there. So the Dolphins have got to get explosive plays, and the Texans have allowed some this season. They've also got to protect Tua. It's going to be a backup tackle at one of the tackle spots here for the Dolphins, and Tua's going to get the ball out fast, but in the event that he doesn't, or it's a longer developing play, Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter breathing down his neck. That's not good for Tua Tagovailoa. They are going to have to protect Tua on the longer developing plays, mitigate the Texans' pass rush however they can with the quick passing. But when they don't do the quick passing and they set it up for a longer developing play, they cannot let Tua take big hits from Anderson and Hunter in this one. Defensively for the Dolphins, if you can take away Joe Mixon, you can make the Texans one-dimensional, or at least slow down Mixon for a quarter and a half of this game, you'll have a good shot. The Texans need Mixon to keep the train on the tracks, to keep the train on time. If you slow down Joe Mixon, you take away what Mixon brings to the table from a rushing standpoint, which is just incredible vision, the incredible contact balance. He's powerful. I mean, he makes things happen. But if you could slow down Mixon, slow down the rushing attack, puts the Texans in third and longs, second and longs. They haven't succeeded well this year in those situations. So you find yourself with an advantage as that Dolphins defense if you are able to take away Joe Mixon. Easier said than done, but if you do that, you'll be well on your way to a victory. Now, ultimately, who's going to win this matchup? It's a close one. I don't believe the Texans are going to cover, but I do believe the Texans are going to win 24-23, your final score in a nail-biter. The Texans stave off the Miami Dolphins to get a victory, and then they just need the Denver Broncos to take care of the Indianapolis Colts. They'll be AFC South champions in back-to-back seasons for the 8th time in franchise history. What say you? Who's winning this one? Let me know in the comment section down below on your way down there. Thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Of course, don't forget to check out our friends at BetUS. YouTube 150 is the code. Check out the prop builder. It's my favorite way to build bets on BetUS. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.